Hey everyone, it's Bubbles, and this is officially the welcome to this channel. This will be the first video I'm posting on this channel. I'm not new to the YouTube things. I usually run a gaming YouTube channel, so if this is the first time you're seeing me, welcome. But if you're from my Instagram, I usually post book stuff on there, but I've decided that it's a painful process what I was doing before, and I didn't like doing it anymore, so I decided I wanted to move it to an actual channel so I could actually do more with it when I wanted to. So this is officially the start of this channel. Should be fun. But yeah, I've got more things I want to do that is more suited for a YouTube style video rather than what I was doing before on Instagram. And if you're new to me, you're not coming from my Instagram, this is the start of my bookish YouTube channel, so welcome. And I have another channel I've been doing gameplay stuff on, so that's what I'm normally doing, but because I read a lot of books, I decided, why not? So to bookmark the first video, I decided I would do a official book tour, because on my Instagram I mentioned that I moved into a new apartment away from home, and I finally got my bookshelves set up the way I like them, so I wanted to go through and do an official tour, and I was waiting to get a tripod for me to record, so yeah. So I decided this would be a perfect first video to do, so yeah, let's get into it. Alright, so I thought I would start with this shelf first, well, at least the top shelves above my head, because I have this small shelf here, and then I have this one here, and then another one here, and then a shorter one over there, so we'll work our way across, but let's start with the tall parts first, the ones that are above my head, because I'm short. But up first, so this shelf is kind of like my contemporary literary fiction, historical fiction kind of stuff up here. It's kind of a mixed bag. So up first I have Daughter of Fortune by Isabel Allende. And then, so that was historical fiction. Up next I have Little Fires Everywhere by Celeste Ng. This is literary fiction. I actually read this in college, and I decided to keep it because I enjoyed it, so. And then up next, these are more political fiction. These are by my partner, Garrett Johns. So this is Marshall and Landon Marshall. These are actually the old editions now. He's a small self-published author. These are the first two books he ever came out with, but he's actually re-released them with new covers. So Marshall is now being called For Those That Died, and Landon Marshall is now called For Those That Are Left. He has officially re-released this one, and this one is coming soon with a new cover. So, and then behind my Dr. Swatch candle, because I like it, even though I think it's too low to burn anymore. Oh well. I have the full boxed edition of the Scythe trilogy by Neal Shusterman. I put this up here because I don't really know where else to put it. It's the only series or books I have that are dystopian. But because I'm not a huge dystopian person, every time I have attempted a dystopian novel, which the problem is, I guess, it's because I've started with classics, and I'm not a huge classic person like George Orwell. I can't stand that man's writing, I'm not gonna lie. But I haven't ever liked dystopian, but because this one has more of like a Reaper element, paranormal element, maybe I'll be into it a little bit more. And then also on this shelf I have The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I read this last year, and I did enjoy it. I read it in December. I think I gave it a 4 out of 5. Now that I'm looking back on it, it's not normally my kind of read, but it was enjoyable. I don't know, I'm just kind of indifferent on it. It's just not my kind of read, but it was enjoyable when I did start it up and go through it. And then the last book on this shelf is The Book Thief by Markus Zusak. I actually read this when I was in high school, and so I had to get myself a copy, and I'm hoping to reread it because I really did enjoy this. So yeah. Okay, now I'm gonna go up to this shelf. So this is my mystery. Some of it's like, this is H.H. Holmes. I have like, it's mostly mystery and like that kind of stuff. So yeah, so we'll start over here. So I recently got this. This is The Devil in the White City by Erik Larson. So this is an H.H. Holmes mystery novel. And then up next I have All's Well by Mona Awad. Pretty sure that's how you pronounce her name. But because I have her other one that she's more known by, Bunny, which I'll show later. And so I found this one and it sounded very interesting and weird, and I feel like her stuff is just gonna be right up my alley. So, and then up next I have Ace of Spades by Ferda. I am not sure how to pronounce her last name, so I'll put it up here for you, but I think this is the UK cover. I have a lot of UK covers for mostly fantasy, because I tend to like the UK covers more, but it seems like contemporary romance covers I like more in the US version, so I'm pretty sure this is, and then I have the Mindfuck series so this is the collection of all 5 of the short stories by S.T. Abbey, or Stabby. So this is not normally my kind of thing either, but considering it's about a female serial killer who is amidst the investigation for her, I was like, So I'm definitely gonna give it a try. Sometimes I just want like I don't want to call it trashy, but you know what I mean, like, yeah. And then behind my Among Us, I have the Inheritance games. I have the full trilogy. Yeah, so the Inheritance games is the first one, the Hawthorne Legacy is the second one, and then the Final Gambit is the third one. And these are all by Jennifer Lynn Barnes, but I am a sucker for like stories that have to do with like a competition for the main character, because I just like that. I don't know. I feel like that's like a guilty pleasure kind of plot for me. So, and then up next I have the first in the Morpheus Road series. I believe this is a trilogy, but this one is The Light, and these are by DJ McHale. So I found this back when I started collecting books, because I found my book reading passion again, since I'm kind of a newbie to all of this still, technically, even though I have like a lot of books, it's fine. But I had found this at Goodwill, and it was highly rated on Goodreads, but it's a mystery novel with this kind of specter-like thing, so it's got some paranormal aspects to it. And then up next I have The Butcher and the Wren by Elena Urquhart, I guess, I don't know. So this is a newer release. I actually got this as a gift from my partner's sister for Christmas. Thank you. So this is it's a true crime kind of novel. It's quite short. I don't even think it's 200 pages. It's 240 pages, so, or at least my copy of it. But I'm hoping to get this in sometime around like autumn or spooky season, because that is the appropriate time to read these things. Man down! My partner and I collect Among Us because they have little mystery boxes of these. So they go on my mystery shelf. And then up next I have the Good Girl Guides to Murder by Holly Jackson trilogy. So the second one is Good Girl, Bad Blood. And then the third one is As Good as Dead. So these are relatively new. I know at least the third one was released the end of last year, I think. The paperback version didn't get released until January. But because I was waiting on it for forever because I wanted them to match because I preferred these covers. But I really want to get into this very bad, but I guess we will find the time. Hopefully it is this year because I want to read these around autumn. I know I shouldn't wait till spooky season to read all of my mystery novels, but whatever. And then up next I have the 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle by Stuart Turton. And then up next I have No One's Home by D.M. Pulley. So I actually read through this last October, and I tabbed it because this one is about a... How should I phrase this? Because the way I went into it was not how it went, and I'm very sad and disappointed for that, but I don't know. I don't know, because I went into it thinking it was going to be about a haunted house, which the house in question is a famous haunted house. It's based off of the Shaker Heights houses in Ohio, but I don't know. The ending kind of disappointed me, but that's only because I went into it thinking it was going to be a different thing. However, the writing in this is still very good. This is actually, I'm pretty sure this is a debut novel by this author, but it's pretty much about this family moving into this house, and it has like a pretty dark history, and so we'll bounce between that point of view a few times. And then we'll get points of view in different chapters by the previous families that have lived here. So I tabbed it in order of, like, anytime anything messed up happened to the different families, just so I could keep track of all of it. I'm not really much of a annotator or tabber, but sometimes if I have, like, a funny thing to tab about, I will, but yeah. So, like, this is a good novel if you go into it as it's a mystery, not as a haunted house novel, which is what I thought it was, but there are people outside of my apartment looking around, and I don't think the walls are that thick. Anyways, so the next one is This Is Where It Ends by Merike. I'm not sure how to pronounce their last name. I hope that's right. If it's not, there you go. But this one is about a school shooting, which is a pointed topic right now. We're not going to get into that, but anyways. I picked this up at Target a couple of months ago, and then because I saw it around a bit on like Book Talk and things, but I looked at the Goodreads rating and it's not super great. However, I'm still gonna give it a read because I did buy it with my own money. So I will read it and then I will decide if I want to unhaul it after that point. Pretty much my rules for unhauling things is I will read it, and then if it's below like a 3-star rating, or if it's a low rating around a 3, but I don't feel like I want it any more, then I'll unhaul it. Yeah, I try to give every book I have at least a read, or if it gets DNF'd as well. So, and then up next I have Verity by Colleen Hoover. I gave this a read in December as well. At the time it was gripping for me to just quickly read it because I was in kind of a reading slump, but now that I look back on it, I don't know if I'm a coho person. I feel like this is something that's happening with a lot of people, that they get like on the hype with Colleen Hoover, and then they kind of like let it muddle after they've read a few of her things, and then they're like, So unfortunately, before I'd even read any of her stuff, I had bought a few more of her novels, so I only have 3 more. So I was gonna give them a read and then just kind of mull through them to see if I want to unhaul them or not. I have to say this one was kind of, at the time of reading it, it was fine and it was gripping me because it was messed up, and I do like reading things that are shock value sometimes, but now that I think about it, some of the stuff kind of gives me the ick. Because there was a new release of this with an extra chapter that's, number one, it's 30 pages long. So I was gonna go to the store and find a copy of it and just sit there and read it real quick, so I didn't have to, because I didn't want to buy a new version of it, especially not a hardback, because these ones I will gladly just take in paperback. But yeah, I started reading that and immediately got the ick and was like, nope, we're done. So not too sure about this one. And then the last one on the shelf is Finley Donovan is Killing It, and this is by El Cosamano, sorry. Okay, and now we're gonna take care of this shelf here. This is my horror and like middle grade creepy novel kind of stuff. So yeah. So up first I have Into the Drowning Deep by Nero Grant. So this is I think it's like a mockumentary style thing of these people going into the Mariana Trench. Sorry, I can't, whatever. Anyway, so it's like an expedition of them going down into the trench, and I think some kind of creature is there and it starts like hunting them. So it's kind of one of those things. It sounds interesting. And then up next I have Stephen King's The Stand, and my copy is the uncut version in all of its chunky glory. I so glad I found this at Half Price Books, because I've been looking for it for a while, because I've been wanting to expand my horror collection because I am a big horror person. I figured like the best place to start would be Stephen King, because he's kind of like obviously the classics. And my dad said his favorite was The Stand. So I know you should probably read some of his other stuff first, but sometimes I just want to read the big one. So, and then up next I have The World's Worst Crimes, an A to Z of Evil Deeds by Charlotte Grieg. I found this at Half Price Books as well, and I like reading about really messed up stuff, so this should be fun for me. And then up next I have The Devil's Rooming House by M. William Phelps. So this is a true crime novel about a female serial killer. I believe she was either a nurse or some type of, oh no, she was a nun that was a caretaker for, I believe it was a nursing home of some sort, and she would poison her patients. So, and then I have Boogie Pop. These are by Kohei Kadono. So this is the first 3. These are all in chapter format, because if you know Boogie Pop, it is a manga and anime. But I found this and was like, ooh. So I like a good psychological horror. And then up next I have the very chunky collection of V.C. Andrews' Flowers in the Attic. So this is a fun one. So I have Garden of Shadows, which is supposed to be like the prologue, and then this is the first 2, so Flowers in the Attic and Petals in the Wind, and then this is the 3rd and 4th one, so If There Be Thorns and Seeds of Yesterday. So I found all of these in very good condition at an estate sale, and my parents read these when they were in high school, and they sound very disturbing. I know about them. And then up next I have Bunny by Mona Awad. So I got a hold of this first before I found the other one. And this has been circulating around for a little bit now. I'm actually hoping to read this October. And then moving on to my middle grade creepy stuff. So I actually got my hands on the newer release of the 3 Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark little books. So I loved these when I was a kid. So these are short stories collected by Alvin Schwartz, and then the iconic drawings of Stephen Gammell. So yeah, I finally got one that had all 3 in it, and I grew up reading these. I love these. And then up next I have Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children and Hollow City by Ransom Riggs. So this is the first 2 in the series. And then up next I have Fragile Things and Short Fictions and Wonders by Neil Gaiman. So this is a collection of short stories. It's centering around a circus, which is straight up my alley. And also I just wanted to get into more of Neil Gaiman because I actually have Coraline up here. So I really like Coraline. It's one of my favorite childhood movies. So I haven't actually read the actual book it was based on. And I know I'm going to like Neil Gaiman's writing. I'm very into like super whimsical stuff like this. So now we're getting into some of the older things I have had that I have had since I was a child. But these are Poison Apple books. I only have 2 of them. I think there might have been 3 or 4 of them or something. But I read these when I was a kid, and I've just kept them. I don't know. I really like this one. Or it was my favorite when I was a kid, but like this one's about a haunted house. This one's about her family, our main character's family, who she finds out is vampires and things. So, but yeah, they're just like middle grade, teenage kind of things. They're not super difficult to read. I just have them still because I like keeping some of the older stuff that I still like to look back on. Because these were kind of what got me into reading when I was a kid. Because I was a huge reader when I was a kid, but I went through high school and college and didn't have a whole lot of time to read. So I'm kind of getting that back now. Okay, and then the last one on their shelf is Horns and Wrinkles by Joseph Helgerson. So this is a whimsical, fairy-like, fae-like story about these 2 kids. So the main character is Claire. She's kind of adventuring with her cousin Duke, who is a huge bully, and there's like, it's super weird. I reread it because I read this when I was a kid, but I didn't have it, and I found it at Goodwill and I had to get it again. But I reread it in October, and it's super weird. It's straight up like the kind of weird stuff I liked reading when I was a kid, but it's about like mountain trolls versus river trolls, and like Duke ends up getting a horn as a nose, which is the start of a transformation of him turning into a troll because he's a butthole, and yeah, it's all good fun. Okay, now we're gonna start on this shelf. So this is my paranormal, supernatural, little bit of urban fantasy, little bit of like magic that's also in a supernatural sense shelf. That's the best way I could describe it because I don't know where to put some of this stuff. And like, I have vampire books, but this series does not fit with the vampire books I have because most of the vampire books I have are gothic. So I don't know where else to put them, but we shall start with this series. But I have up to the 5th in this series, the Crave series by Tracy Wolff. So Crush, Covet, Court, and Charm, and I know yes, it's 5, sorry, I was making sure I could count, but the 6th one was newly released in a couple months ago. Hello, Pooh. My cat is on the floor. So I got these. Do you wish to have some input? Here's the child. She just got done sunbathing. Anyways, I'm gonna put her down. So I got these with the thought in mind that a lot of people were saying that if you like Twilight, if you like Vampire Diaries, if you like True Blood, all those kinds of things, you would like these. I actually found out I do very much like Twilight. I have a guilty pleasure for it, but I didn't necessarily want the novels. And I'm not a huge True Blood, like, I won't touch True Blood because it's just not my thing. I know it's not the way it's paced with the teen drama and angst, and you'd think I would like it because I like Twilight, but I don't know. And I've tried giving Vampire Diaries a shot, and it's also the kind of like a I think the only reason I like Twilight is because of the cinematography in it. This has more dark academia vibes in it, and it is relating to a school. So hopefully I will like this. If not, I bought the first 5 for no reason, but oh well. I like to do this to myself. It's fine. And then up next I have the first 2 Crescent City novels. So House of Earth and Blood, and then House of Sky and Breath by Sarah J. Maas. I'm going to put that down because these are heavy. So yeah, I love these covers. I'm not gonna lie. And also the end pages are very pretty. I know there's been some very, very gorgeous special editions that have come out, but clearly I do not have them. Anyways, it's fine. So actually, I am right now reading Throne of Glass. I'm only on the second one. Please don't hate me. Anyways, I'm trying. But I really like that these are more urban fantasy and they have supernatural things in it because I love the TV show Supernatural. I'm trying to work through reading all of SJM stuff in order of which he published it, hence why I'm starting with Throne of Glass. And then I will move into ACOTAR and then Crescent City. And then up next I have Only a Monster by Vanessa Lynn. This is actually her debut. And then up next I have Cemetery Boys by Aiden Thomas. I'm very excited for this. I'm hoping to get this read this October as well. And then I have the boxed set of Darker Shades of Magic by V.E. Schwab. And then I also have Vicious and Vengeful by V.E. Schwab. And then up next I have Ledifer by T.D. Cloud. So this is a smaller author. This is an indie author. So I went to a smaller convention where I live, and I'm glad to see like smaller authors were advertising their series and books and things. So this is it's an urban vampire mystery novel, which sounds super exciting. So I wanted to give this a shot. Also, all of her covers, because I bought another one of her series, and I'll show you later, but whoever designs her covers is amazing. But it sounded super interesting, and I also just like supporting small authors. So, and then up next I have the Evermore series, or at least the first 3. So this is the first one, and then Shadowland is the second one, and then the third one is Blue Moon, and these are all by Alison Noel. And then the last one on this shelf is Unbroken, and this is by Paula Morris. So this is a funny story. So this is the second in the series. I don't know if it's a duology or if it's longer than that, but I have had this book since I was a child. I remember getting this at the Scholastic Book Fair when I was in elementary school. And apparently I didn't find out until recently that this is the second one because I like cataloging all of the books I have on Goodreads. So I found out that this is actually the second in the series. So I've been trying to find the first one so I can read it and figure out if I want to keep it or not because it is kind of old. Okay, now we're gonna hit this shelf. So this is my Dark Academia, Old English literature, and then Gothic vampire stuff back here. So up first I have Hellbent by Leigh Bardugo over here. I have the first one, Ninth House, over there on that shelf, and I will explain why it's over there. But I read Ninth House last October. Did you read it too? So I really enjoyed the first one, and I'm really wanting to get to this one this October because I'm ready for it. I was supposed to read it in January, but stuff happened and I could not read things like I wanted to, but it's fine. We have a plan for October. I always plan out my October. It's my favorite month. And then I also have The Secret History by Donna Tartt. This is a Dark Academia classic. I'm very excited for this. I've recently discovered the wonderful world of Dark Academia and I love it to bits. And I have R.F. Kuang's Babel as well. And then up next I have The Whispering Dark by Kelly Andrew. So on Goodreads there's a description of this in the synopsis that describes it as being like a mashup between the Raven Cycle and I think the Ninth House. I'm pretty sure. And I loved both of those, the Ninth House and the Raven Cycle series. So this sounded very interesting to me. And then I also have the illustrated copy of If We Were Villains by N.L. Rio. This edition is very pretty, but these are the end pages. The hardcover the naked cover has the crest on it. But yeah, it has like illustrations in it as you go along, which I love to death. So this is a really cool edition. Oh, and this edition, I would give you a link where I got it, but I got it off of Book Depository, and unfortunately I found out that that website is now closed down. Darn you, Amazon! Anyway, it's where I got all the different versions of covers, so I'll have to figure out how to get books now because Amazon does not always have the covers I want, especially if I want UK covers, so that'll be difficult. Anyways. And then I have Dante's Divine Comedy, so this is all three. And then I also have Chaucer's Canterbury Tales. And then in the Gothic literature, I have Belladonna by Adeline Grace. This is the first in I think it's going to be a trilogy, I'm not sure, but this has a romance with death, which sounds very interesting to me. And then I have Oriel Rising by Elizabeth Redfern. This is like, I don't really know what it's about. I tried to start giving it a read last year, but I put it down because it was different than what I was expecting. So I'm kind of waiting until I actually have the need to read this or the want to read this, because it's very different from a lot of the things I normally read, and I don't know if it's necessarily Gothic, but it kind of reads like it. It's definitely Victorian-esque, so yeah. And then I also have House of Hunger by Alexis Henderson. And then the last on this shelf is A Dowry of Blood by S.T. Gibson. I'm super excited for this. I really want to get to this in October, so I'm planning on it. Okay, and then on this small shelf here, I have all of my Gothic short stories and things like that. So first I have Bram Stoker's, a collection of his horror stories. This is super foily. You've probably seen, if you go to any like thrift store or used bookstore, they have a bunch of these that have these kind of covers on it. But I really like Bram Stoker's Dracula, so I wanted to get some more short stories. And then I also have this edition of all of Edgar Allan Poe's poems and short stories. I love this edition. It is so pretty. And then it has gilded edges. And then these two are two collections of Gothic short stories by different authors. So they have 6 in each. So far I've only read the first one and this one. So it was Jamaica Inn by Daphne du Maurier. It was interesting to say the least. I definitely want to give more of them a read, because I know just because I read one of them and didn't like it a whole lot doesn't mean that all of them are going to suck, you know. And then last on this shelf, I have The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde and Other Stories by Robert Louis Stevenson, I think. I don't know. Okay, and then down here, this is my special edition shelf. So I don't have very many special editions, but I did get my hands on Daughter of the Moon Goddess and Heart of the Sun Warrior, and these are both by Su Lin Tan. So I'm very excited I got these editions, because these are like some of the prettiest special editions I've seen. So these are the Fairy Loot special editions. And then I also recently got the Atlas 6 and the Atlas Paradox special editions. And these were, I believe these were Illumicrate. Yeah. So these are the Illumicrate special editions. I love these so much. They're so pretty. But yeah, I've been wanting to get this duology for a while, because Dark Academia, hello. But I could never find them in stores physically, and I didn't really like the US or the UK versions of the covers, so these were like the only ones I liked, and I'm so glad I have them. Okay, and then this shelf is my whimsical fantasy stuff here that doesn't really fit anywhere else, and this is my Alice in Wonderland and also A.G. Howard shelf. So actually, the funny thing is I have one of the series that belongs on the shelf over there, but it's it's an Alice in Wonderland dark fantasy retelling, and it's by A.G. Howard. So I've had that series for forever, and it's kind of what got me into reading. In fact, that and one of the other series I have really got me into reading when I was younger. But I have 2 more of A.G. Howard's books, and then like Heartless by Marissa Mayer, and then also Alice in Wonderland over here. But so that's kind of why I have this weird little section over here, but we'll start over here. So up first is The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches, and this is by Sangu Mandana. And then up next I have Strange the Dreamer and Muse of Nightmares by Laini Taylor. And then I also have Holly Black's newest release, The Stolen Heir. So this is the part of the Folk of the Air universe. I recently read the Cruel Prince trilogy, so those are over there, and I love them, so I got my hands on the next part. And then I also have Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies, and this is by Heather Follett. And then up next I have Under the Whispering Door and House on the Cerulean Sea by T.J. Klune. And then I have the UK cover of V.E. Schwab's The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. And then up next I have Heartless by Marissa Mayer. And then this gorgeous book is Stain by A.G. Howard. This is a Princess and the Pea retelling. So A.G. Howard does a lot of fairy tale retelling kind of stories, but I really love her writing. So, and then A.G. Howard's newest release is The Shades of Rust and Ruin. So this is about a curse on this family regarding Halloween but particularly Samhain. So I want to give this a read this October as well. And then last on this shelf, I have Alice's Adventures in Wonderland and Through the Looking Glass by Lewis Carroll. I about blanked on the name. Anyways, but this is one of the Barnes & Noble's special editions. It has blue sprayed edges and the illustrations as well. Yeah, there you go. So this shelf is my witchy, spell casty kind of magic shelf is how I can explain it. But up first I have Book of Night by Holly Black. I know not many people have liked this. I still got it because the magic in it sounds very interesting to me. And then I also have Spells for Forgetting by Adrienne Young. And then I recently got Stephanie Garber's Caraval trilogy. Well, these were actually gifted to me by my partner because he's so awesome. But yeah, the first one is Caraval, and then the second one is Legendary, and the third one is Finale. And then I have the Kingdom of the Wicked trilogy by Carrie Maniscalco. So Kingdom of the Wicked is the first, Kingdom of the Curse is the second, and Kingdom of the Feared is the third. So I actually gave these a read earlier this year. So I read the first two in January, and then this third one I finally finished February, I think. I have mixed feelings on this series. Honestly, I was going into it thinking it was going to be exactly what the synopsis was going to be. Like, it was going to give me, like, 7 Deadly Sins. It was going to give me witchy vibes. And it did, but, like, the first one was interesting. It was just the ending that was a little weird for me. I did not like the second one at all. I couldn't stand it because I just really don't like Amelia, the main character. And then finally the third one gave me what I had been wanting all series, but it shouldn't have taken up till the third one to get me there. And by the time I got to the third one, I was over it, so. And then I also have the Prison Healer trilogy by Lynette Noni. So the first one, the second one is The Blood Trader, and the third one is The Gilded Cage. I love these covers so much. And then up next I have the Scholomance trilogy by Naomi Novik. So the first one is A Deadly Education, the second one is The Last Graduate, and the third one is The Golden Enclaves. And then I also have both of Rachel Griffin's works, so The Nature of Witches and also Wild is the Witch. These are the prettiest books ever. Both of them have like this kind of style on the naked covers. They're super pretty. Yeah, and there's this other one. And then I also have the Bow and Witch trilogy by Rin Chupeco. So this is the first one. These covers are so pretty. The next one is the Heart Forager. And then the third one is the Shadow Glass. And then I also have Naomi Novik's other works. So Uprooted and also Spinning Silver. Okay, now we're gonna be sitting on the floor. But up next, this is my middle grade fantasy series shelf. I only have 2 on here, but the first I have is the Magisterium series by Holly Black and Cassandra Clare. So the first one is the Iron Trials. The second one is the Copper Gauntlet. The third one is the Bronze Key. The next one is the Silver Mask. And then the last one is the Golden Tower. And then the next series I have on this shelf is the Land of Stories by Chris Colfer. So this is the Wishing Spell. The second one is the Enchantress Returns. The third one is the Grim Warning. The fourth one is Beyond Kingdoms. And the last one is An Author's Odyssey. And this shelf is my epic fantasy and high fantasy series. So this series is an older one. This is the Last Mythal Forsaken House. So this is book 1. These are by Richard Baker. I found some of these older fantasy stories in Goodwill, and I thought to give them a try. But I also have Keeper of Realms, The Dark Army by Marcus Alexander. This might not be the first one, I don't know. I had a habit of buying second in the series copies on accident. And then this is The Rogues by Jane Yolen and Robert J. Harris. So this is the last in the series, but they're all companion novels. They all go together in this series, but you can read them separately without having read any of the other ones. My cat has taken up my lap and I cannot move, so. And then I also have The Lion of Ireland by Morgan. I'm not going to try to pronounce that last name, but there you go. And then I also have an illustrated edition of Assassin's Apprentice by Robin Hobb. I actually really want to get into Robin Hobb's works, so. And then I also have the entire Falling Kingdom series by Morgan Rhodes. So this is the first one. Rebel Spring is the second one. Gathering Darkness is the third one. Frozen Tides is the next one. Crystal Storm is the next one. And the final sixth one is Immortal Rain. And then I also have The Prior of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon, and also A Day of Fallen Night. I put these in order of, I put books in order of how I'm going to read them on my shelves, so that's why I have this one second. I understand it's a prologue. And then this is my Throne of Glass box set series. So I've actually already read the first one. I enjoyed it enough to keep going. I know that when she started writing this, she was literally a teenager, so I can tell. But I'm going to read it in this order. So based on what I saw online, people recommended reading The Assassin's Blade after the first three, which is what I'm going to do. Because I know The Assassin's Blade is all about, like, what happened to Selena before she got in prison, or like the events leading up to it. So I'm aware. I'm just gonna read it in this order because that's what I've heard. So yeah. And then because I didn't have enough room over here, this one is Courage of Falcons by Holly Lyle. So this is actually book 3 in a series because I can't read, apparently. But yeah, I apparently didn't see that when I was getting it at the thrift store, so. She's being a bad baby. She wants to be on my lap. Pooh, it is not lap time. Okay, so this shelf is my miscellaneous fantasy. Some of it's more young adult series and standalones, because some of them are standalones. But up first I have Fable and Namesake by Adrienne Young here, and I have them beautifully displayed because they deserve it. And then over here I have the second and the third of the Books of Pelennor series. So the Riddle is the second one, and then the Crow is the third one. I've been trying to find the first one, but I found these at Goodwill, and I saw good things about them on Goodreads, so once I find the first one, then, you know, I will start reading them. There is so much noise going on in my apartment right now. In my complex. People are running up and down the stairs. It's great. Anyways. So this is The False Prince by Jennifer A. Nielsen. And then I also have The Bone Houses and The Drowned Woods by Emily Lloyd Jones. And then this is my partner's other book that he has written. This is fantasy. This is actually his debut into fantasy. But this is The Whispers and the Angels, and I tabbed this one. But he actually, so I was going through this and making more edits, hence tabs. So he actually has a new release of this book that has a redesigned cover as well. And then I also have The Ones We Burn by Rebecca Mix. And then I also have We Hunt the Flame and We Free Stars by Hafsa Faisal. And then this shelf is my fantasy romance and also dark fantasy romance, but I have the entire collection of ACOTAR here by Sarah J. Maas. I'm not going to pull them out, but you get the point. I also have the first in the From Blood and Ash series by Jennifer L. Armentrout. I also have A Curse So Dark and Lonely by Bridget Kimmerer. And then Road to Fire by Maria Lewis, and also Sound of Madness, which is the second one. So this is actually where I keep all of my book tabs for when I do feel like tabbing. So yeah. But underneath it, I have another that TD Cloud trilogy I was talking about, but this is her, I'm not sure what this series is called, but sorry, this is the third one. Epitome is the first one, A Quiver is the second one, and then Redomancy is the third one. So this is it's a polyamorous threesome of dudes. And there's drows or drows based on D&D lore. And it just sounds real interesting. And also the little excerpts on the back are very steamy, so that should be fun for later. Okay, the lighting's gonna be a little weird on me for a little bit, but it's fine. We can see the books, that's what matters. So this is my contemporary romance shelf from here down, and then over here is my coming of age and found family series and books. Up first, I have A Thousand Boy Kisses by Tilly Cole. I actually read this beginning of last year, and I have to say it was enjoyable, but I would recommend not reading the epilogue because it completely ruined the entirety of the book for me. And if you read it, it's just because of, I feel like ruining it did all of this growing throughout the novel based on what was going on, and the epilogue kind of just like undoes all of that, and I just, why? I also have I Kiss Shara Wheeler by Casey McQuiston. So if you'll notice, the only one of my contemporary romances I've read was A Thousand Boy Kisses, and most of the rest of it is sapphic or gay because I just apparently get the ick from straight romance novels. I'm not a huge contemporary romance person. I'm more of a fantasy and horror person, so. And then this is the rest of my Colleen Hoover collection, but I have It Ends With Us, It Starts With Us, and also Reminders of Him. And then I also have Beach Read by Emily Henry, and then Internet Famous by Danica Stone. This is by the same author who did All the Feels. And then I also have the first of this kind of series, but the first one is Delilah Green Doesn't Care, and then the second one is Astrid Parker Doesn't Fail, but these are by Ashley Herring Blake. And then I also have Things We Never Got Over by Lucy Score. And then moving on to my found family and coming of age, I have these two. So Aristotle and Dante discover the secrets of the universe and also dive into the waters of the world. And these are both by Benjamin Aliri Sands. And then I also have, I have had these in the wrong order the entire time. Well, I have the Dreamer trilogy by Maggie Stiefvater. So Call Down the Hawk is the first one. Mr. Impossible is the second one. And then Grey Warren is the third one. I read the Raven Cycle series last November and part of December, and I love that series. So I also have They Both Die at the End by Adam Silvera, and then I also have The Outsiders, and that was Then and This Is Now by S.E. Hinton. And then over here behind me is my Greek mythology, and I'm not sure if these are Greek mythology or not, but they give me those vibes. But I have The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller, Circe also by Madeline Miller, and also Homer's The Odyssey, which I've read in high school and I loved it. And then this trilogy is by E.J. Mello. So the first one is The Song of the Forever Rains. The second one is Dance of the Burning Sea. And the third one is Symphony for a Deadly Throne. Throne. I'm reading them backwards, I'm sorry. Yeah, so I'm not sure if these are Greek mythology or not, but the covers give me the vibes. So I kind of shelf things based on vibes, genre, and that kind of thing. So okay, and then down here, so this shelf right here is my middle grade fantasy standalones and series that I've had for a while, but the first one is Antiquius, The Quest of the Mazargas by M.E. Hale. So this is like a, it has to do with Atlantis. These I've had for forever. These are by Hannah Stalhut. So this is her Journey to Homeland series. So the first one, and then the second one is Danger in the Shadows. I've read the third one, but I don't have it. And I probably never will. Because this is a very small author from my home. I literally met her in elementary school when she came out with these books. So, and then A Clockwork 3 by Matthew J. Kirby. I also have Cressida Cowell's The Complete Book of Dragons, the How to Train Your Dragon thing, because I love those movies. And then also, this is all of my bookmarks I own, my bookmark tin. So I have some bookmarks from small businesses. I also have a bunch of those cute sword bookmarks. Yeah, good stuff. Also on this shelf, I forget what company came out with this, but it's the Hobbit Smaug book jacket that I like to put on some of my books. And then up next, I have Cloaked by Alex Flynn, The Key to Rondo by Emily Rada, The Two Princes of Baymar by Gail Carson Levine, 13 Treasures by Michelle Harrison, and my very beat up copy, because I read it several times when I was a kid, The Grim Legacy by Polly Schulman. Okay, and then down here, this is the last shelf on these bookshelves, because over there, these are board games. But this is my sci-fi shelf. But up first, I have the Illuminae series by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. But the second one is Gemina. And the third one is Obsidio. I believe they're gonna be coming out with another one, but I'm very excited for that. And then I also have same authors, Aurora Rising series. Yeah. Aurora Burning is the second one. And then Aurora's End is the third one. And then another series I've had for a long time is Rotten Ruin by Jonathan Maberry. The second one is Dust and Decay. The third one is Flesh and Bone. The fourth one is Fire and Ash. And then the fifth one is actually a collection of short stories. But this one is Bits and Pieces. So this is a zombie apocalypse series. And then I also have the Lunar Chronicles by Madeline Mayer. So Cinder, Scarlet, Cress, Winter, Stars Above, and also Fairest. And these are the super neon covers because I like them better. But here, I'll at least show you the first one. I really like these. I had the original covers of the first one, and I didn't like it as much. So, and then the last one on the shelf is The Spareman by Mary Robinette Kowal. So this is a murder mystery in space, but it's got like a 50s style The Jetsons kind of vibe, which is interesting. Okay, now on to the last bookshelf, which is very small. Okay, so this bookshelf over here is kind of like my favorites at this particular time. So this is like me ranking them in order of favorites. But these are all books I've read. But I can't show you them exactly, but I have my entire J.R.R. Tolkien collection of books. So The Lord of the Rings, this is all 3 of the series. I have The Fall of Numenor, which is a newer release. The Nature of Middle-earth, which is also a new release. The Children of Hurin. I also have this special bowl from Owl Crate, and I love it. The Silmarillion, and then the Ring Legends of Tolkien is actually, it's like a collection of history of what Tolkien kind of based Lord of the Rings and Middle-earth on, and it's got a lot of illustrations in it. I found it at Barnes & Noble. And then probably the oldest book in my entire collection is The Hobbit. So this is a very first printing edition of this. This is what my dad read to me as a bedtime story, and it is falling apart, but I will never get rid of it. And then on this shelf is my Empire of the Vampire book by Jay Kristoff. So this copy specifically, this is the UK copy, but mine actually has illustrations in it by Monolime Art, which I freaking love their art style, but this is filled with illustrations by them. And then I also have a book jacket that I got off of Etsy, and then also a Sanctus candle off of Etsy. This is like my favorite book right now, and I'm so excited that he's finally announced when the second one is coming out, and it's coming out next February, and I'm so excited. This is like my top favorite read of last year, because I read it in September of last year. And then up next, see, this is where my Raven Cycle is, but I have the entire Raven Cycle series. So the Raven Boys, the Dream Thieves, Lily, Blue Lily, Lily Blue, and then the Raven King. I love this series so much. It was my favorite series last year that I read, so it was a great way to end the year out. I also have a cute tarot deck, so I thought it was fitting to put it with it. And then down here is my Cruel Prince series. So the first one, and then the second one, The Wicked King. The third one is The Queen of Nothing. And then I also have How the King of Elfhame Learned to Hate Stories. These are all by Holly Black as well, by the way. But this is like, it's like a folktale-ish fairy tale book, and it's got illustrations in it, and I love it to death. But yeah, like, it's broken up into little short stories, and it's kind of like some of its backstory on Cardan, and then the end of it is kind of picking up where the series left off. But I think it's like a cute little addition. It's super cool. I love it. It gives me vibes. This whole series gave me vibes, let's be honest. But yeah, I finished it just last month, so it's very good. And then here is my copy of The Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. And then over here is my, so that series I was talking about by A.G. Howard, that was in dark fantasy retelling of Alice in Wonderland, but it's the Splintered series. And so the first one is that, and then the second one is Unhinged. The third one is Ensnared, and then the last one is Untamed. So this is all short stories in this one. And then on this bottom shelf that you cannot see, I have The Night Circus, which I read at the beginning of last year so it's by Erin Morgenstern, and I loved it so much. And then I also have V. Schwab's Gallant. I really enjoyed this. I know it's not supposed to be like a super amazing thing, because it is supposed to be like designed to be read in one sitting kind of a book. It's very short, but I really enjoyed it. It gave me vibes. So, and then lastly, I have all 4 of the Heartstopper graphic novels by Alice Oseman. So that's the first one, the second one, the third one, and the fourth one. So she's having the 5th and final installment coming out relatively soon, I think. I don't know, but I'm excited for it because I really love this series. Like, not only did it start out giving me super cozy romance vibes that I just prefer over other kinds of romance tropes, but it also really delved deep into like mental health and things like that, and it was very refreshing. And they're falling over here, but yeah. The only other books I have in my apartment are my Harry Potter series up here. I'm not gonna pull them down, but yeah, so that's the only other books I have in my apartment. These are other things, but those are special dust jackets I got, but it's just the normal books underneath. But yeah, okay, but that is the end of my book tour. I hope you enjoyed. It was a little long-winded. I'm sorry if this video ends up being super long, but you know. Anyways, but I am gonna be posting a kind of book update in terms of what I've read the past few months, because I've needed to catch up on that for Instagram, but I've just decided I'm gonna post it on here anyway. And then also my TBR for the month of June, and also like pretty much the summer. And then I was thinking about doing some book tags possibly that I've seen and some other things, but let me know what kind of things you would like to see on this channel. I'm holding this up because it is my current read. But yeah, so I will see you guys the next time for another book related thing. I'm not sure what my schedule will be for this channel. It'll probably be whenever I feel I have a thing worthwhile to post on it in terms of books. I may even do book reading vlogs or things like that, but yeah, just let me know what kind of things you want to see on here, because I can finally kind of just do what I want and not have the constraints of like Instagram to work around. So yeah, but other than that, I will see you guys next time. Bye.